Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today, we're embarking on, well, a unique exploration. It's not just about dates and facts. We're talking about something much more fundamental, really. The power of narrative. Who gets to tell the story? The story of a nation, a people, those big historical events. And why is that power, the power to define, to interpret, why is it so foundational to how a country sees itself, its past, its future? I want you to ask yourself, maybe just pause for a second. Have you ever really thought about whether you know the full story? Especially for stories that have often been told about a people, from the outside looking in rather than by them, from their own experience. So today we're not just shifting the lens, we're completely reorienting it. Our focus is on an extraordinary figure, Alemseged Tesfai. Now, he's much more than just an author, though he is certainly prolific. He's a renowned writer, yes, but also a meticulous historian, and crucially a freedom fighter. His life is just so deeply intertwined with the destiny of his nation, Eritrea, and that means his work has this unparalleled authenticity, a lived understanding that, frankly, few historians can genuinely claim. So, the mission for this deep dive, it's exactly that. We're going to delve into his latest book, An African People's Quest for Freedom and Justice. We'll use his insights, his perspective, to try and understand Eritrea's incredible and often misunderstood quest for self-determination. Our goal is to see how its history is now being powerfully retold, finally, from an Eritrean perspective. We want to uncover the most important nuggets of knowledge from his challenging, deeply authentic narrative. So, yeah, we're not just reading history here. We're engaging with someone who lived it, who helped shape it, and then meticulously documented it.
And what's truly fascinating, I think, about Alemseged Tesfai's work,
Mm-hmm.
it's how his personal journey, his life, directly informs his historical lens. It enhances it. This unique blend lets him challenge those, established narratives. He does it with firsthand insight. It moves way beyond just academic theory, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's grounded in a real, undeniable experience. That combination is rare,
Mm-hmm.
incredibly valuable. It offers a perspective that, well, traditional historians, no matter how brilliant, often just can't replicate.
You've hit on it exactly, that unique combination. That's really where we need to start to understand Alemseged Tesfai. We could genuinely call him an architect of authentic narratives. His life, like you said, is quite literally intertwined with his nation's destiny. He embodies this distinct, powerful mix of roles. A celebrated writer, words that move people,
Mm.
a meticulous historian digging for truth,
Right.
and a committed freedom fighter who risked everything. This isn't just a list of titles on a CV. It's a description of a deeply lived reality, and that shapes every single word he writes. Think about it for a moment. The profound significance of his journey. He went from the structured world of legal studies, a field that trains you in logic, evidence, argument,
Right, very analytical.
directly into the heart of the Eritrean People's Liberation Front, the EPLF. For
Okay.
those maybe less familiar, the EPLF was the main armed movement fighting for Eritrea's independence from Ethiopia. This wasn't just, an academic interest for him or some detached viewpoint. No, this was a deep personal commitment, forged in what you can only call the crucible of Eritrea's struggle for independence.
That's a powerful image. The crucible.
It really is. He didn't just study the struggle. He was there on the front lines, literally in it, experiencing its realities, its brutality, but also its hopes, its aspirations firsthand. And that personal engagement gives this crucial, sometimes visceral context to his historical analysis. It helps him illuminate not just what happened, but the felt reality of those events.
Yeah, and when we talk about that kind of immersion informing historical work, we're really touching on the incredible value of what academics sometimes call autoethnographic accounts. Just to unpack that term briefly, autoethnography, it's basically a research method where the writer uses their own personal experience to explore broader cultural phenomena. So in Tesfai's case, his firsthand experience of the Eritrean struggle, it becomes a living, breathing primary source. He's blending rigorous cultural analysis with his own, deeply personal story. It gives his work this personal, yet analytically sharp dimension. And that approach is just so powerful when you're trying to reclaim historical truth, especially from those dominant, often biased external interpretations. Because it brings an internal voice, right? A perspective that outsiders simply cannot replicate. When the historian was also there, a participant, the nuances, the emotional truths, the motivations that often escape outside observation, they become palpable. It's like history with a pulse.
That's such a critical distinction, history with a pulse. I like that.
Mm.
And it's not often you find someone who's been, like you said, both on the battlefield and in the archives, crafting the story from both ends. This unique background, it's what empowers his crucial role as a historian, meticulously documenting Eritrea's long, hard path from that post-colonial federation to its hard-won independence. And the really critical aspect here, his works offer Eritrean-centric narratives. Narratives that actively challenge those external interpretations.
Exactly.
Because for far too long, Eritrea's story was told about it, usually from outside perspectives often loaded with their own geopolitical biases, colonial baggage, or, regional agendas. His work flips that entirely. It puts Eritrean voices, Eritrean experiences, Eritrean agency right at the absolute forefront. It allows the people themselves to define their own history, finally. And his impact isn't just in those dense history books either. He's had a significant literary impact, too. Especially with his plays, like The Other War. Groundbreaking stuff.
Mm-hmm. Plays can reach people differently.
They really can. These aren't just entertainment. They illuminate the multifaceted experiences of Eritreans during pivotal historical periods. They dive right into the human element, don't they? The sacrifices, the dilemmas, the incredible resilience of people under immense pressure. So this theatrical side, it further cements his status as a key cultural voice. His influence goes way beyond purely academic circles.
Right.
He masterfully uses different mediums, historical analysis, dramatic plays, but they all convey the same core truth, that the official story, it isn't always the complete story. Sometimes it's not even the right one. And someone like Alemseged Tesfai isn't just correcting the record. He's rebuilding the narrative from the ground up.
Indeed. And his ability to navigate both, academic, historical inquiry and that kind of evocative literary expression, it really underscores an important point. Historical understanding isn't just about cold, hard facts, is it? It's also about perspective. It's about empathy. And crucially, it's about the lived reality of the people who experience the events. It's about bringing that essential human element back into historical accounts, making them relatable, making them profoundly impactful for a wider audience.
Absolutely. And that profound need for a new narrative, a corrected narrative, that's precisely what drives his latest major work. Let's really dig into an African people's quest for freedom and justice now. This book, it directly addresses a huge void, a glaring silence, really, in the global understanding of Eritrean history. His core assertion, and it's powerful, almost revolutionary, is that the prevailing narrative that poses as Eritrean history in global literature has been largely devoid of Eritrean voices, historical sources, and collective memory.
Think about that. Devoid. Not just underrepresented, but devoid.
Exactly. He's saying this isn't just some minor oversight. It's a profound systemic omission, an omission that has actively distorted the understanding of an entire nation's struggle, often reducing a complex liberation movement to, well, a simplistic footnote. So the book's fundamental purpose becomes crystal clear. It's almost a rallying cry. The whole story had thus to be retold from the Eritrean perspective, the receiving end of an imposed narrative.
The receiving end.
Yeah.
That framing is key.
It really is. This isn't just about adding a few new facts to the old framework. No, it's about rectifying a deep historical imbalance. It's about reclaiming agency in your own story. It's about ensuring that the experiences of the Eritrean people, their hopes, their sacrifices, their internal debates, their resilience, are finally documented and understood on their own terms, not through the often biased filter of external observers or, colonial powers.
And this raises such an important question, really, that goes way beyond Eritrea. When history is written mainly by outsiders, people outside a culture, what essential nuances, what truths are invariably lost? Often it's the genuine motives of the people involved, the intricate internal dynamics of their movements, the very soul, you could say, of a people's struggle. These things can be misread or just completely ignored. And that leads to shallow, ultimately inaccurate portrayals that can stick around for generations. Tesfai's work aims to fill that profound gap by providing an insider's account, meticulously researched, that corrects these pervasive misinterpretations.
And to do that, to achieve this monumental task, the book uses a very specific, very insightful analytical framework. It meticulously examines three distinct yet deeply interconnected processes that collectively determined Eritrea's fate during a really pivotal period, 1941 to 1962, post-Italian colony, pre-independence war. It's a truly complex interplay of forces that he just masterfully unravels. Okay, so first, he looks at the Eritrean dynamics. This means the internal aspirations, the early political movements, the popular actions, the collective will of the Eritrean people themselves.
What did they actually want?
Exactly. What do they want for their future after the Italians were gone? How did they organize, debate, advocate for self-determination? This section really delves into the rich tapestry of Eritrean society and its internal political landscape at that time. Second, he meticulously deconstructs the Ethiopian narrative. This explores how Ethiopia, driven by its own historical ambitions, its own geopolitical goals, how it conceptualized and aggressively pursued its objectives regarding Eritrea.
And that narrative gained a lot of traction internationally, didn't it?
Hugely. He points out how this particular narrative often gained unassailable status internationally. It became the default understanding for many global powers, even the UN. Ethiopia's historical claims, its diplomatic maneuvering, they played a massive role in shaping how the world saw Eritrea. And third, he analyzes the US-UK-led international dynamics. This covers the crucial, often decisive role of global powers, particularly the US and the UK, their strategic interests shaping the region during that turbulent post-World War II Cold War era.
Cold War calculations loom large here.
Absolutely. Their need for regional allies, their geopolitical chess game, it had immense, often devastating consequences for Eritrea, frequently overriding the actual desires, the stated wishes of the Eritrean people themselves.
And what's so illuminating, I think, is how Tesfai dissects these layers. He shows how they intricately interplay. He's not just telling the story from one side, is he? He's showing the intersectionality, the often contradictory nature of these forces. For instance, he shows how the Ethiopian narrative, emphasizing ancient claims, strategic needs, how that often found fertile ground within those US-UK international dynamics, especially when Western powers were looking for a stable, quote-unquote, ally in a volatile region.
Right.
A reliable partner.
Exactly. And this external alignment then, in turn, directly suppressed and marginalized the very legitimate Eritrean dynamics, those internal aspirations for self-determination, which led to that imposed federation that ultimately was doomed to fail. He really acknowledges the complexity by bringing in all these dimensions, which is just crucial for a full understanding.
Exactly. And a hallmark of his commitment to scholarly objectivity, his integrity as a historian, is that he analyzes these complex dynamics with as much objectivity as available resources allow. This isn't propaganda, it's not a one-sided rant, it's meticulous, evidence-based scholarship, grounded in rigorous research from all available perspectives. The book's desired outcome for readers, he hopes, is simply a clear understanding of the events that led to the Eritrean War of Independence and the attendant quest for denied freedom and justice.
Its history is clarification.
Precisely. It's a masterful weaving together of local hopes, regional ambitions, and global power plays. A truly complex tapestry. And it demands that kind of careful, nuanced unpacking to really appreciate the historical currents that shaped Eritrea's fate. It gives you that profound aha moment about the forces involved.
Indeed. It's about providing the full, multi-layered context, moving beyond those simplistic one-dimensional explanations, to reveal the intricate web of decisions, interests, actions that profoundly shaped a nation's destiny. That level of detail is just vital for genuine historical literacy and for understanding the origins of ongoing regional complexities today.
Now, this meticulous approach, this drive to claim and correct the narrative, it has a fascinating origin story, a personal quest for truth that started long before he ever picked up a weapon. His dedication to Eritrean historical ownership, it actually began before his direct involvement in the liberation struggle, which is quite surprising, maybe.
It is. You might assume it came later.
Right. But this crucial realization emerged during his university studies. Back in the 1960s and early 1970s, he describes this really powerful aha moment he had in those formative years. A moment of profound intellectual clarity, but also emotional clarity, where he came to realize that Eritreans had been letting others define them in a way that they would not define themselves.
Wow. That's a heavy realization for a student.
Imagine feeling that deep sense of misrepresentation, even as a young student. Knowing your people's fundamental story was being told incorrectly. From a place that either fundamentally misunderstood or, maybe worse, deliberately misrepresented who they were, this wasn't just some academic quibble, it had real-world implications. For international perception, diplomatic support, even the morale and identity of those fighting.
A power of definition.
Exactly. He mentions he even wrote a couple of theses that touched on Eritrean history back then, driven by this feeling. But he acknowledges, quite humbly, that neither his youthful experience nor the sources available then allowed him to really tackle the problem effectively. So the seeds of his life's work were definitely planted. But the full tools, the direct context, the necessary access, they weren't quite there yet for him to fully articulate the narrative he felt was missing.
And that's such a common challenge, isn't it? For colonized or post-colonial nations, that struggle to reclaim their narrative from the historical frameworks, the biases imposed by external powers. This personal awakening, happening before he joined the armed struggle, it really underscores the intellectual, almost existential necessity of his later work. It wasn't just political for him. It was this deeply intellectual and profoundly personal mission to restore a people's true identity through their history. It shows the deep roots of his lifelong commitment.
And then his direct participation in the armed struggle. It didn't create this belief, but it profoundly reinforced it, solidified it. The battlefield became another kind of rigorous classroom for him, a crucible that forged and sharpened his academic insights into an unshakable truth. He saw firsthand how the armed struggle was often misconstrued and delegitimized as a secessionist movement not worthy of the recognition that it deserved.
That secessionist label is so often weaponized.
Absolutely. Think about the devastating impact of mischaracterizations like that. It directly affected international perception, diplomatic recognition, crucial humanitarian support, even the morale and legal standing of those fighting for basic human rights. By labeling it secessionist, it often denied the fundamental right to self-determination. It paved the way for non-intervention or even active opposition from global powers. He makes it absolutely clear. History and the Eritrean identity were at the center of the conflict.
The battle wasn't just physical.
Not at all. It was an equally crucial battle for the story, for recognition, for legitimacy in the eyes of the world. And he was uniquely positioned and actually given specific opportunities to lean into this intellectual fight. First in 1987 and then again in 1997, he was able to step back from direct combat and dedicate himself to studying, researching, writing.
A chance to synthesize.
Exactly. It allowed for this powerful organic synthesis. His revolutionary experience helped me to identify important issues and to obtain a clearer understanding of Eritrea's narrative. This is where theory met practice, where the raw, lived experience illuminated the historical facts, and, conversely, where historical knowledge provided a deeper framework for understanding the struggle itself.
Which really brings up an important question for all of us, I think. How often are complex liberation movements just simplified, dismissed by outside powers, often to justify particular political stances or just maintain the status quo? Tesfai's work directly confronts that kind of historical manipulation. He demonstrates that such simplifications aren't just inaccurate, they actively serve to deny a people's legitimate aspirations for freedom and justice. His ability to synthesize those two worlds, the academic and the revolutionary, that's what truly sets his historical contribution apart.
That's a crucial point. And it leads us directly to what Alemseged Tesfai considers the most compelling aspect of the Eritrean character itself. It's their unique ability of the people of Eritrea to live in harmony and mutual tolerance, despite their religious, linguistic, ethnic, and regional diversity.
Which is remarkable, especially in that region.
Truly remarkable, especially when you look at the broader Horn of Africa, which unfortunately has often been marked by internal strife, identity-based conflicts. So this isn't just about survival for Eritreans, it's about actively thriving through a unity forged in immense diversity. And he gives concrete historical examples of this deep-seated resilience, this collective refusal to be divided. Think back to that immediate post-World War II period. He details, for instance, the British attempt to partition the country along religious lines.
Classic divide and conquer.
Textbook colonial tactic, right? Aimed at exploiting perceived fault lines between the Christian highlands and Muslim lowlands. But Tesfai meticulously shows how Eritrean leaders, both Christian and Muslim, proactively formed interfaith committees. They publicly denounced these plans. They presented a powerful, united front against external manipulation.
So an active resistance to it.
Very active. He cites specific joint declarations, community meetings that exemplified this. He notes that through to subsequent similar trials, the people have consistently refused to be drawn into strife and ill feelings not of their making. It shows this active, conscious, collective resistance, a deep rejection of division. And they've also cultivated these strong internal mechanisms for peace. Their traditional conflict resolution strategy, rooted in elders' councils, mediation, customary law, he says it has helped them keep their balanced relationships, helped diffuse potential conflicts before they escalate.
So deeply ingrained cultural tools for harmony.
Exactly. Speaks to long-standing cultural ways of maintaining social peace.
And when you connect that to the bigger picture, wow, it offers a compelling and often overlooked model for multi-ethnic coexistence, especially on a continent that's frequently portrayed only through the lens of internal conflict. Tesfai's chronicle demonstrates this profound resilience against historical attempts at fragmentation. In a world often grappling with identity politics, divisive rhetoric, Eritrea's experience, as he eliminates it, offers a powerful counter-narrative. Unity forged through adversity, through conscious choice. It shows that diversity doesn't have to lead to division if a society actively nurtures harmony.
It really is a testament to the enduring character, the collective soul of the Eritrean people. He concludes this section with a powerful insight. The survival of the Eritrean identity is, to a large part, attributable to this characteristic, indeed this soul, of Eritrean society. It's not just a historical observation. He presents it as the very essence of their national being. And to capture that essence, to articulate such a profound truth, Alemseged Tesfai employed truly rigorous, exhaustive research methods. Let's dig into that now. The meticulous process he undertook, ensuring historical accuracy, comprehensive detail, cultural sensitivity in his narrative. This wasn't, a quick scan of easily available stuff or some armchair historian's thoughts. No, this was deep, dedicated academic work, spanning continents and years. He spent many months in intense study, examining an astonishing array of primary sources.
The groundwork must have been immense.
Oh, absolutely. This included documents from Eritrea's own Research and Documentation Center, RDC, vital internal perspectives. He pored over original newspaper articles, political speeches from the period itself, capturing the public conversation as it happened. He accessed official Eritrean government documents, assembly records, even Supreme Court files getting official decrees, legislative debates. But crucially, he didn't stop there, which shows his commitment to a multifaceted view. He also meticulously studied Ethiopian government documents, understanding the opposing narrative, their strategies.
It's essential for balance.
Essential. He consulted federal documents reflecting that short-lived federation period, and critically, he delved into UN archives, British colonial records, American diplomatic and intelligence documents. These international sources gave crucial insights into the geopolitical games that shaped Eritrea's destiny, often revealing how external powers viewed and, frankly, manipulated the situation.
Following the paper trails globally.
Exactly. So what this really means is, this isn't just good history. It's exhaustive, dedicated detective work across international archives. The sheer breadth of these sources. It speaks to a truly comprehensive investigation, ensuring he wasn't just relying on one narrative, one set of facts. He was cross-referencing, verifying, building a picture from every available angle, leaving no stone unturned.
And what's truly compelling there, I think, is that deliberate effort. Gathering such diverse perspectives, archival and oral, as we'll get to, it reflects this profound commitment to historical nuance, a refusal to settle for a single dominant story. For instance, comparing those internal Eritrean government files with, say, British colonial reports. That allows him to spot discrepancies, right? Expose biases, reveal hidden agendas, and that meticulous construction of a historical picture from multiple, sometimes conflicting angles. That's how a more complete, more authentic truth really emerges.
And his commitment to thoroughness went global, really emphasizing his dedication to gathering information from all over. He detailed his international travels specifically for documentation and interviews. He visited Addis Ababa, London, and New York.
These centers for this history.
Absolutely. Addis Ababa, obviously, to get access to Ethiopian National Archives, government records crucial for their perspective. London, to examine British Colonial Office records, vital information on the post-WWII administration of Eritrea, the plans for its future, and New York to consult UN archives. The debates, resolutions, reports that directly impacted Eritrea's fate at that critical time, these trips just underscore his commitment to truth, unbound by geography or politics. And crucially, he also dedicated himself to inclusivity within his research. He states, "In an attempt to represent the cross-section of Eritrean society, I tried to be as inclusive of the diversity in our society as I possibly could."
Reflecting that national character he described.
Exactly. It meant interviewing people from various religious groups, Christian, Muslim, different linguistic communities, ethnic backgrounds, regional affiliations, ensuring a rich, textured, historical account that genuinely reflects the lived experiences of a varied population, not just one dominant group or political faction. And perhaps most importantly, he stressed the crucial importance of his interviews with major figures from the period.
Bringing in the human memory.
Vital first-hand accounts, personal recollections, nuanced perspectives that documents alone, however detailed, just can't always convey. For example, hearing from former politicians, diplomats, community elders, that provided insights into motivations, behind-the-scenes talks, the emotional weight of historical decisions.
Yeah, the inclusion of those oral histories from major figures is particularly vital in situations like Eritrea's, where written records might be biased or incomplete or just non-existent for certain periods or certain groups' perspectives. It adds that crucial layer of human memory, lived experience. It enriches and authenticates the archival findings, giving a richer, more holistic understanding of events. It's a testament to his understanding that history isn't just data points, it's the sum of human experiences.
Yet, for all this incredible rigor, Alemseged Tesfai approaches his scholarship with this refreshing humility. It's a testament to his academic integrity, his commitment to truth over ego. He states quite plainly, no book on history can confidently claim perfection and accuracy.
Which is honest, isn't it?
Very honest. It's not a weakness or an excuse. It's a powerful acknowledgement of the complex, evolving, often interpretative nature of understanding the past. And he invites dialogue. He invites that collective effort in seeking truth. I hope that readers will point to me areas where these may be identified and corrected.
Open to refinement.
Exactly. This speaks volumes about his commitment to a shared pursuit of knowledge, the collaborative, ongoing nature of discovering and refining historical understanding. It's the mindset of a true scholar, always open to continuous learning and correction.
And that openness to critique is, indeed, a hallmark of real scholarly integrity. It acknowledges that history is an ongoing conversation, not some static pronouncement handed down from above. It invites the broader community, researchers, readers, to contribute to refining it, ensuring the historical narrative stays dynamic, responsive, and as accurate as humanly possible, always striving for deeper truth rather than some definitive final word.
So, given all this profound wisdom from history, how do we apply it to today's challenges? Especially in a region like the Horn of Africa, still so volatile, so interconnected. Alemseged Tesfai transitions seamlessly, really, from historical analysis to sharp observations on contemporary issues. He directly addresses the key contemporary issues he feels are crucial to tackle in his literary work now, especially looking at the socio-political landscape of Eritrea and the Horn of Africa. His observation is stark, but unfortunately incredibly relatable worldwide. Peace is in short supply everywhere in the world these days. Our region is no different.
A sobering assessment.
It is. He's speaking to ongoing conflicts, political tensions, humanitarian crises that continue to plague the region, which makes his historical work feel profoundly relevant to what's happening right now.
And that demonstrates his commitment, doesn't it? Not just chronicling the past, but making it vitally relevant to the present. History isn't just about what happened back then. It's fundamentally about what we can learn from those events, how we can apply those lessons to current challenges. His analysis of Eritrea's past quest for justice inevitably informs his perspective on the present-day need for peace and stability in the wider region.
And despite those often grim contemporary realities, he holds on to this remarkably hopeful conviction, like the factors that unite the peoples of the Horn of Africa far outweigh the issues that divide them.
That's a powerful counter-narrative.
It really is. Especially compared to the common perceptions of the region, which focus almost exclusively on conflict, divisions, fragmentation. He points to shared historical experiences, interconnected trade routes, cultural exchanges, even intermarriages, things that have forged deep bonds over centuries. And his aspiration for the role of history in literature. It's equally inspiring, equally ambitious. He wants to move away from the brinksmanship and intolerance of the past to help open up an atmosphere of dialogue and mutual respect.
Brinksmanship. That dangerous game of pushing things to the edge.
Exactly. He's referring to that tactic of pushing a situation right to the verge of disaster to get what you want. Instead, he's advocating for culture, for intellectual endeavors to lead where confrontational politics might have failed historically, by creating a shared understanding that can, hopefully, diffuse tensions.
Which raises a profoundly important question for global affairs, really. Can cultural and intellectual work truly bridge divides where political solutions have historically proven inadequate, or even failed outright? Tesfai's work suggests an emphatic yes. By providing a shared narrative, a deeper understanding of historical grievances, a common basis for empathy. Maybe that can transcend mere political friction. It's about building bridges of common understanding, common humanity through shared stories. Rather than letting divergent political interests dictate everything, his work shows how historical truth can actually be a foundation for future peace.
So what about the future, then? The future of Eritrean storytelling, Eritrean scholarship, beyond his own huge contributions. He details his ultimate hope, particularly for Eritrean historiography, that's the writing of history as an academic discipline. His hope is to see Eritrean historiography and the Eritrean narrative take its proper place in the history of the Horn, Africa, and the world.
Global recognition, integration.
Exactly. Ensuring Eritrea's unique, hard-won story contributes to the broader human narrative, providing a vital perspective on colonialism, self-determination, resilience. He acknowledges his own massive contribution, but frames it modestly. He concentrated only on one period of Eritrean history, a huge, pivotal period, yes, but still just one piece of a much larger puzzle. But then comes his truly inspiring call to action, for future generations. A powerful torch-passing moment, he says. To obtain a composite body of Eritrean history, more writers and researchers need to emerge and be encouraged to the earlier and latter parts of our history.
It's an invitation?
It really is. This isn't just about his work anymore. It's about building a comprehensive, multi-generational historical canon for Eritrea, a full, textured tapestry of its entire past. What this really highlights is he's not just telling a story. He's actively inviting, challenging an entire generation. Pick up the pen. Embark on your own quests for truth. Continue this vital work. It culminates in his powerful summation, almost a promise. Eritrea has a unique history waiting to be told. It's an open invitation to a fascinating journey of discovery for others.
It's really a vision for self-sustained intellectual growth, isn't it? National self-discovery. He recognizes that a nation's history is just too vast, too important for one individual, however dedicated, to capture entirely. It's a passing of the torch, ensuring the narrative continues to be developed, enriched, challenged by new voices, new research, new perspectives from within Eritrea, building a truly robust and comprehensive historical record for future generations and for the world.
Now, for those of you listening who might be new to Alemseged Tesfai's quite expansive work, he actually offers some excellent starting points. It shows the range, but also the accessibility of his literary universe. For Tigrinya readers, that's the dominant language in Eritrea. He suggests Wadi Hadera. Says it's a good, entertaining introduction.
A novel.
Yeah, a novel offers a compelling, apparently often humorous look at cultural nuances, social dynamics in Eritrea during a critical period, makes it an engaging entry point to his broader historical themes. For those who prefer English or maybe want a dual language experience, there's 2 Weeks in the Trenches. It's available in both Tigrinya and English, serves as a solid gateway to his larger historical works, gives a personal, vivid account of life during the struggle.
Sort of bridges the gap.
Seems like it. He also points to Tesfai Gebreb's book, The Nurenebi File, which Tesfai himself translated into English. He says that's another effective entry point, giving insights into the political machinations of the time. And he explains that engaging with these more accessible works first can genuinely prepare readers, help them tackle his 3 big Tigrinya history volumes, and of course, an African people's quest for freedom and justice more easily.
Makes sense. Ease yourself in.
Right. These more narrative-driven works, they build a foundational familiarity with his style, the historical context. Before you dive into the deeper, more comprehensive historical analyses, it's like learning the language of his historical perspective first.
That's actually really thoughtful, isn't it? Providing guidance for readers, acknowledging different entry points into what is clearly a complex, significant body of work. It shows a real understanding of how to engage his audience, thoughtfully guiding them from accessible narratives to the more rigorous historical texts, building their understanding step by step.
And what about the broader state of Eritrean literary scholarship today? Beyond his own work, he offers a nuanced perspective. Encouraging, yes, but also critically astute. He finds it genuinely encouraging to see Eritrean writers, many of them young in age, publishing books.
That's definitely a positive sign.
For sure. A burgeoning literary scene, renewed interest in storytelling, historical preservation. But he also offers a critical view on what constitutes true, meaningful progress. He cautions that publishing books is not by itself a sign of progress in literary and historical scholarship.
Oof. Quantity doesn't equal quality.
Essentially, yeah. He's saying just putting books out there doesn't automatically mean there's depth or real insight happening. He elaborates on what he sees as the essential requirements for literature to truly strive to make a lasting impact. He says the ground on which it operates needs to expand, meaning it should break new thematic ground, not just rehash old ideals.
There's the boundaries.
Yeah, right. It needs to examine social issues, delve into the complexities of human experience, societal challenges, contemporary dilemmas, and critically, it needs to explore the richness of our peoples and diverse cultures and traditions, ensuring the full tapestry of Eritrean identity is represented, celebrated. So he's calling for breadth, depth, and unwavering cultural authenticity, pushing beyond just surface-level stories.
And what's fascinating there is that call for rigor, for depth within this growing literary scene. He's emphasizing that true scholarship, meaningful literary success, it requires more than just the act of publishing. It's a wise reminder, really, that intellectual curiosity, meticulous research, a genuine dedication to deeply understanding the subject matter, those are essential prerequisites. He's setting a high bar, encouraging a culture of deep inquiry that will truly enrich the national narrative.
And he highlights a key area for improvement: He notes a manifest weakness in this area among many of our writers, that writers need to understand that reading and research are essential prerequisites to literary success.
Back to the hard work.
Exactly. It underscores the idea that a strong literary work, especially one rooted in history, social commentary, cultural exploration, demands a robust foundation, knowledge, meticulous investigation, not just creative flair. He does, however, commend specific recent works of thorough research, works that stand out as excellent examples of that in-depth detail and investigation, showing what is possible when writers commit to that rigor. He mentions Netzari Abizazi's Ona and Bisikdira, delving into specific historical places and their significance. He praises the late Mekonnen Shabe's Dinget Ab Agamet, a work of deep historical and cultural exploration. And he highlights Kamelam Teki's Selena 77, another example of meticulous detail, insightful analysis.
So there are examples to follow.
Yes. And he also makes sure to acknowledge the voices of our poets, emphasizing poetry's vital role in capturing a nation's soul, and the overall need for writers to be recognized for emerging voices and perspectives, for the scene to truly be considered noteworthy in the grand scheme of Eritrean literature. It's a powerful call for discernment, isn't it? Celebrating genuine intellectual and artistic merit over mere volume.
It really is. It's a powerful statement about the responsibility that comes with being a writer or a historian. He's setting a high standard, encouraging a culture of deep inquiry, intellectual honesty. That's what will truly enrich the national narrative and ensure its integrity for generations. He's basically saying, don't just write any story. Write the true story with all the depth it deserves.
And what a profound journey we've taken, really, through the insights of Alemseged Tesfai. We've seen how his unique blend, participant, chronicler, cultural voice has allowed him to craft these narratives that are both historically rigorous and deeply authentically felt. His work doesn't just present facts, it empowers us, doesn't it? It empowers us to understand Eritrea's profound, multi-layered quest for freedom and justice through a meticulously researched lens, bravely challenging those previously imposed narratives that, for far too long, neglected the true Eritrean voice.
This deep dive has offered such a powerful lesson, I think. History isn't static. It's not just done. It's a living, breathing dialogue, constantly enriched, constantly challenged by those who finally claim their own narrative. And it raises an important question for all of us, really, far beyond Eritrea. What narratives have we accepted? Maybe without questioning where they came from. What stories are still waiting out there to be told, waiting for their rightful voice to emerge and reshape how we understand the world?
Exactly. You know, if history is often said to be written by the victors, what does it mean for our collective understanding when the voices of those who struggled, who persisted, who refused to be silenced, what happens when they finally get to tell their story, backed by meticulous research and lived experience?
It changes everything.
How does that change our perception of global events, our appreciation for resilience, even our understanding of ourselves and the stories we choose to believe? It's a powerful shift. It transforms not just history books, but potentially our entire worldview. So delve even deeper into this crucial conversation and to really experience the profound impact of his work firsthand, we highly, highly recommend picking up a copy of his latest book, An African People's Quest for Freedom and Justice by Alemseged Tesfai. It's truly an essential read. For anyone interested in African history, the power of narrative, or just the indomitable human spirit of a people striving for self-determination against overwhelming odds. Join us next time on The Deep Dive as we continue to explore the fascinating world of knowledge, one compelling story, one profound insight at a time.